At this point in time, which is May 2022, there really isn't much going on in terms of game releases. So I've been delving into my ever-expanding backlog and trying to play some stuff that I initially missed. I swear these games just multiply when I'm not looking or something, it's ridiculous. But anyway, I've been playing some random stuff, and a few of the games I played didn't really fit into the categories of videos that I usually make. So I just decided to make a casual new series for games that I wouldn't fully recommend, but that are simply alright. Oh, and I should point out that I don't think these games are bad, by the way. It's just that these particular games didn't 100% click with me personally, so, I didn't want to give out a recommendation that you might be disappointed by. At the same time, though, I still wanted to talk about what I've been playing, so here we are. So it's probably a good idea to start off by explaining what the game actually is. Azur Lane Crosswave is a third-person action shooter game and is essentially a console adaptation of the free-to-play mobile gacha game. The console version that you're seeing here is quite a bit different though, and it's not a free-to-play game at all. It does have some additional paid content like characters and a few minor story missions which I'm not really happy about, but considering the origins of the IP, it was basically inevitable. In the game itself, you take control of historical battleships in the form of attractive anime girls, which, for the record, I'm more than okay with. You only start with a few girls to choose from, but over time you'll earn these tickets that allow you to unlock new characters at the docks. You're kind of building up a little bit of a waifu collection, which I will admit is pretty fun to do. One thing I will say is that I really like the 2D art of the characters. They all just look so clean and professional, but the issue is that this is really all you see of them. The story scenes where they talk to each other and in the menus is really the only place that you get to enjoy these characters. You do see the 3D models of the girls briefly at the start and the end of a battle, but during a fight you can forget about it. It is way too chaotic to enjoy any of the large flotation devices on display. And you know what? It is a bit of a shame because the anime for Azur Lane is very, very heavy on the fan service. I actually have the Blu-ray because, of course I do. But yeah, I expected much more fan service in this game. There really isn't any of it here aside from the 2D artwork itself, and that is a bit of a disappointment for me. So what's the actual gameplay like? Well, you've got three main areas in the game: the overworld, the menus, and the battles. I don't think it's a stretch to say that you spend more time in the menus and the overworld than you do in the actual battles, but we'll get to that. The overworld works in virtually the same way as 7 Pirates H, which I reviewed a little while ago. You sail around and you pick up randomly spawning items from the water, and then you can start battles or events when you find them on the map. The menus are where you recruit your new characters, equip your gear, upgrade your weapons, develop weapons, and do all of your character management stuff. The battles themselves are very short, and honestly, I found them to be a little bit dull. They aren't bad exactly, just uneventful. The game actually has a ranking system that applies to how long it takes you to complete a specific battle, and you can get an S rank by finishing the mission in under 120 seconds, so that should give you some kind of idea about what I mean by short. At the start of the battle, you'll be placed on the water and your objective will pop up in the corner of the screen. It's usually something like defeat a certain number of planes, sink a certain number of ships, or beat the boss. You do have a relatively large reticle which gives you a decent amount of auto-lock, which is good because trying to see what you're actually doing and actually hit something without it would be horrendous. All of your armaments are mapped to specific buttons, which you can see at the bottom right of the screen. Your basic weapon can be fired continuously, but everything else, including your abilities, are on a cooldown. The area that you battle in does look kind of bland, although making the middle of the ocean look good isn't exactly going to be easy. I mean, it's just water and sky most of the time. The water is quite reactive and it does deform and move around based on your character's movement and weapon usage, but still it doesn't look that great overall. You'll also notice that the area you fight in looks kinda huge, but it's actually boxed off by some subtle blue lines that you can't always see. You really can't move around that much at all during a battle. The game really doesn't feel bad to play, but I always felt like I was just starting to get into it when the battle would end. I just wish there was more to it because the controls aren't bad, they work fine, and the combat can actually be fun when you're allowed to do it for longer than a minute. The battles do get pretty hectic, and while you do have the ability to dodge incoming fire, I found it really hard to see what was actually going on most of the time. I mean, when you've got 6 different characters all firing different weapons, the planes in the sky, the battleships on the sides, and the water moving around, it can almost be described as a bit of a mess. Luckily though, nothing really one-shots you or deals too much damage to make the mess feel frustrating, at least in my experience. So overall, I ended up being a little bit disappointed by the game. I wanted so much more from the battles and just something from the fan service side of things. Literally anything would have been welcome. I genuinely don't think it's a bad video game. It all works, it's just that it feels very average and that it could have been so much better with not much more effort. I can't say that I would recommend the game to you, but at the same time, it's not an awful game. It may very well be worth picking it up cheap if you like the theme or the source material. If you've got other games that you've been waiting to play, I'd say it's safe to skip this one for a while or maybe push it down the list a little bit. I really didn't love it and I really didn't hate it, but yeah, it's alright. If you enjoy the video, I really hope you'll consider subscribing, and if you like what I do and want to help support the channel, please check out the first link in the video description down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.